Welcome. This is so exciting. Welcome. So, what a special, I feel like this is a cave of knowledge. It really is, you know. We're thinking that we're just drifting around New York City and, oh, we're going to see Eric Winkel instead of 10 other things. But we've been called here and for this really special transmission. And I want to say that our brother, Shu'ayb, Eric Winkel, and we did give him the name Muhyiddin as an honor to his destiny, really, because it has to be destiny. No one could do this by choice, to undertake the translation of the entire Futuhat, which is like, you know, climbing, what was the tall, is it Everest or of its day? So it is an Everest climb, and we're so blessed that we're living at the time when the tremendous knowledge of the Sheikh al-Akbar, the one who is the reviver of the hearts, is now coming out, and we're just able to drink from this water. And so we can't be grateful enough to the Sheikh himself and to the one he chose as his special interpreter, translator. And he has actually gone through half already now. So we are celebrating, it's also kind of celebration of him coming to the half point of the entire Futuhat. So thank you so much, Shu'ayb. Did I get all the points there? Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm going to sit over here, just my neck. I'd like to look at you straight on.
Well, everyone just turn on their cell phones?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Preferably put them on airplane mode so we don't use a Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah. But it does feel, you know, this is how the knowledge was disseminated. And it's so important that we come, I like physically, to see physically. We get so much now, exchange communication through all the internets and everything, but it's so great to be in person. It's another level.
I'm very grateful and thankful to be here. Grateful for my teacher, Sheikh al-Akbar, to be the one who encourages me, gives me the heart to do this great work. And this work is the conveying of the vision and the counsel of Ibn Arabi to me, inshallah, and to his beloved friends, you holy friends, that are the circle that he wanted to give this vision to and explain this vision to. And he traveled throughout his life with small circles of friends who would write down. In fact, when the youth shows him etched in his body the entire Futuhat al-Makkiyah and what he needs to write, he says, write down for your friends what you see etched in my body. And that's what he did over the next 3 years and the rest of his life, writing down for his circles of friends, who then he would give ijazah to, which is permission to. He says, you go out. And so in one of the ijazah, it's the daughter of the house has been given ijazah to this, and as a copyright, and the right to copy, and also to teach. And so she went out and taught. And so from these circles of these manuscript circles, with the propagation of this vision, which is folded in or implicit in all of the sacred paths and all of the spiritual teaching and all the tariqat, but is explicit in almost none of them. And so it's not a system, it's not a philosophy, it's a counsel which all paths take to heart and then provide. And in the 70s, a spiritual master the Sudan, Mahmoud said, the people of Ibn Arabi are not here yet. And it was just a communication with Australia, the Murshid Ali there, and he said, and now the people are here, so here we go. And so may we have the opening, the Futuhat is a plural, the Fat, Futuhat. So may we have the Fat, the opening of our hearts, may we have the Fat, the understanding, and may we have the Fat, the victory of this vision. And so the Fatiha, please, everyone. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad. Bismillah. So as I prepare these, I enjoy preparing these because I have Sheikha's voice in one ear telling me what to do and Hakika's voice in the other ear telling me what to do. And then my audience, which I already know, what do they need to hear? And so I love to put it all together because I keep thinking of those things, but then I add. So this was just because it's a beautiful picture of Cordoba. He was born in Murcia, in Andalusia. He ended up in Damascus. He ended up in Turkey, North Africa, all over the place. And so this is a mihrab where you go in. Next slide. And the mihrab, when you start looking at Ibn Arabi's work, you realize that he's not speaking in Arabic, which is a modern or a living language, a person's, a people's language. He's speaking Arabi. And Arabi is the language of the Quran. It's the language of the Arabs all the way from the beginning to the time of the Quran. And the Arabi language is considered to be mubin, which is clarifying. So like the butter that you boil and keep steaming the top, that's clarification, clarifying the ghee. And so the Arabi language is just that kind of clarity, and so it's the ghee language. And so mihrab, you say, how can we find out what mihrab means? We have to go back to those dictionaries and lexicons at that time. And you can see from violently angry, stirred up a war, a chameleon. When the children hunt for this, they say, Ummah Hobain, spread forth your two wings. And don't worry, it comes out good, kids. Kids can be cruel. But verily the commander is looking at you. They hunt it until fatigue overcomes it, when it stops standing upright upon its two hind legs and spread forth two wings that it has of the same dust color. And when they hunt it further, it spreads forth wings that were beneath those two wings, than which nothing more beautiful in color has been seen, yellow and red and green and white, in streaks, one above the other, very many, and when she has done this, they leave her. It's also the upper end of a sitting room, a high place, the king's private chamber, the station of the imam in a mosque, the place of assembly, the haunt of the lion, the neck of the beast. So Ibn Arabi is quite aware of all of this. He calls himself the son of the Arab, the Arabi. And so he wants us to put these. I used to always say semantic field, but that's one dimension too low. It's a semantic volume. And so the words are placed three-dimensionally in different places. And so when we're using them, we're finding out where are we in this three-dimensional graph, but not only that, what imageries are coming with us. So in the translation, I'll try to bring up the imagery that his small circle of friends would know when they heard that, and that we might not know now 800 years later. So we have to go back into the Arabic language and find out what that is. Next one. And this slide we just had to add. I'll go ahead and read this. And I even will probably, this is on Muraqabah. And Muraqabah is, we think of it now as awareness or watching over or tending carefully to something. And Raqib is a word that's derived from this idea of Muraqabah. And the Raqib, Ibn Arabi says that Muhammad ﷺ came to him in a dream and said, do you know what the Raqib is? And Ibn Arabi said, yes, I do. He says, well, do not fail to mention the Raqib in what you're writing. So Ibn Arabi will tell us about the Raqib. And the Raqib is, remember, Muraqabah is watching over. So the Raqib is the one whose own children have wife died, so she takes care of her nephews and nieces, and she watches over them with utter watchfulness and complete tenderness and complete care, because she is so concerned with them. This is the Raqib. And what happens with next, Ibn Arabi says, is that then we have Ar-Raqib is in fact the earth and the dunya, and there is a second wife, and the second wife in Arabic is called a darar, the one who harms. So the second wife comes on the scene. The second wife is the akhirah, and the second wife tries to seduce the children to her side. Say, look at your Jannat here, all of these fruits and beautiful things waiting for you in the Jannah. Why don't you come with me? I have all the things that you could ever want in this Jannah, and this Akhirah is the best for you. And so she tries to bring the children to her side, and they begin to think that the earth, their mother, the first wife, is not the one that they should be listening to. And that is a serious problem, because Ibn Arabi says how strange we are. We haven't stopped to attend to what God commanded, to obey Him and to honor our parents. And we haven't been harmonious with, nor have we given fully to what we saw of the virtues of this mother and her affection towards us and her love. When the Prophet said, this world is a vehicle, blessing the faithful. On her they reach the fullness of good, and by her they escape from bad. He described her as part of her vigilance over her children, as reminding them about the bad things and helping them escape them, and making the good seem more beautiful to them, and making them passionate for good. Thus she takes them on a journey, and she carries them from a place of badness to a place of good. And that is due to the intensity of her watchfulness, of her watchful overseeing what God sent down to her of divine commands called laws. She loves that her children establish the laws so they may be felicitous. This one, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, had described her with the finest of qualities, and he deemed her to be a place for the good things. Thus, for the people of watchful awareness, it is appropriate that their commencement in the entrance to this world through the womb of their mother should focus on acquiring these qualities, that they will be aware and watchful of the states of their mother. Indeed, when infants open their eyes, it is only to their mother, and they lean to her more affectionately than they lean towards their father, because they are aware only of the one who cherishes them, and it is appropriate then that they emulate her behaviors. Yeah, so that, to have a somewhat an autobiographical note, when I was 6 and then 10, I had the experience of the atmosphere being very, very thick. And I would often hear a hum, and that hum would be a precursor to this thick atmosphere parting. And of course you have all the metaphors of the opening door, the parting of the curtain, the portal, all of these metaphors. This thick atmosphere would part, and I would go into another world, and I would know that this world is a projection and a shadow of another world. And so I realized I certainly do not belong in that this world is a three-dimensional, thick atmosphere, and that there's another world. So I was always knowing that I needed to find out what this other world was about and how it comes about. Today, with the study of Ibn Arabi, I can begin to describe that as a three-dimensional surface. And a three-dimensional surface is one where, if you think about a ball, let's go to a three-dimensional ball, and you have a surface which is two-dimensional. So if you're stuck on the surface of a ball, there are certain properties that you can discover about the surface that you are on. In this surface, you walk around and around and around. Someone from the outside said, oh, you're descending, and now you're ascending. But you say, I'm just walking in a straight line, because indeed you're just walking in a straight line. But someone from the outside says, that's an ascent, that's a descent. And then you walk forward, and you end up where you started from. And you look out out as far as you can, and you start seeing your back. So the farther you look out, the more you look inside. So the exterior is the interior, and we get all of these mystic ideas that come after that. Up is down, down is up, inside is outside, outside is inside. That is because on a three-dimensional surface, the same situation is applying. That we look up, we look there, we look there. No place is that other off-surface place. And so a voice from that other surface place says, I am here, and then we say, are you here also? Are you over there? And you say, I am there, and I'm here also, and I'm here also. And so you come to the conclusion that it looks like this one is wherever I am, and indeed, who is wherever you are. And so in this three-dimensional surface, we have parallel lines which meet. Because go back to that ball, if you draw a parallel line, it will meet. And if you draw a triangle, it's not 180 degrees, it can be 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. So you're a non-Euclidean geometry. So in a three-dimensional surface, parallel lines are meeting. And so we're fascinated by the converging lines. When lines converge, we know instinctively that something is going on. This is our signal that there is another dimension, there is another world. And so when we see rows of bushes, tea bushes, when we see the tiling of a mosque, when we see the way a mistara, a ruling sheet for a manuscript, where you put the page over here, all of these are pointing to converging lines, reminding us that we're in a three-dimensional surface and that parallel lines will meet. So the person who was close to this, the societies and cultures that knew these things, when they would see this beautiful Islamic dome, they would remember that there is another world, and that therefore I need to be watchful when I'm in this world, because there is another world. I need to take care of the poor, because there is another world. I need to do the right things, because there is another world. So only that would be enough to remind them of what they need to do. And of course, when you go by picket fences, when you go by rows of palm trees, or if you run down an old city and see all of the gullies, all of the lanes, and you'll get hypnotic effect, because again, that's your reminder. That's the trance state that tells you a three-dimensional surface with another world somewhere else. So we are living in a three-dimensional surface. This is fully understood until about perhaps the 19th century, when we all forgot it very quickly. And then we have had to rediscover it to some extent in physics, with the idea of space and time, and that you have three spatial dimensions and one temporal dimension, and so on. They have been forced to rediscover this world in order to figure out the effects of these crazy quantum particles and other things that are happening, which can only be explained when you open back up to 19th century math, which is hyperdimensional, and 19th century physics, which was preparing the way for Einstein to do a partial piece of what he was doing. And so this language has been there always, that we are fil ard. So fi means two. And if you understand Arabic, you know that with all these prepositions, that most of the prepositions in Arabic, when you go to the dictionary, it means to and through and during and about, all a long, long list of words it could possibly mean. It never means upon. And so fil ard means in the earth. And so when you speak of being in the earth, that means you're speaking of being in a three-dimensional surface. And we are in the earth. We're not on the earth. So from the very usage of fi, in the earth, we are reminded, as the tiles of the dome of the mosque remind us, that we are in a three-dimensional surface. And that what we then are looking at is something that is there behind. And what we see then, three physical dimensions, and the jinn see two, because I will come at them from in front and from behind, on their right and on their left. In Arabic, you use the directions for dimensions. So in front of them and from behind, say two directions, but we call that one dimension. And then from the left and the right, we call that two directions or one dimension. And the dimension that they have no access to is the up and the down, the vertical axis. Ibn Arabi says that's why if we are having trouble with the jinn, we move to the vertical axis, because they don't have access to the verticality of this dimension. And so the jinn have two dimensions, we have three dimensions that we work with. Many animals seem to have four dimensions, and with their four dimensions, they see the magnetic field. So the magnetic field is something that we can only be aware of if we measure the trace or the effect. So you put iron filings in a magnetic field, and you watch where the iron filings go. Based on the result of the magnetic field, I can see that there is a magnetic field here. If you take the iron filings away, I cannot see the magnetic field. But many animals do see that magnetic field. And this is also the reason why there is this thing called taklif, being told to do something, and iman, being certain of the unseen. Iman is kind of like faith, but it's being certain of the unseen. Now, an animal who sees the unseen and sees the magnetic field, there's no question of intention or telling them to do something that they have to do it, even though they don't know why. Because they do know why, because they see the other side. And for us, however, we don't see the other side. So we are told this is the way things go. The widow's mite, the penny that the widow gave, was more valuable than the richest person's donation. Why? Obviously, in this world, a penny versus a lot of money is quite a big different thing. In the other world, however, the widow's mite is weighed very differently. It is much more valuable than anything else. And so if we see the other world, we'll see the value of the things that we do right now. And if we don't, we have to take it on faith or be certain in the unseen that what I do now has this effect over there. So Ibn Arabi here talks about this idea of dimensions. So I'll go ahead and read this one. Consider the sphere again. However much you move forward, you return to where you started from. However much you look out, you look in. The up and the down are equally close. Everywhere you are, equally inaccessible. And it is related in the report that God is saying, "Oh, my creature, I was sick and you didn't visit me." The creature says, "Oh, cherisher, how could I visit you when you are the cherisher of the worlds?" He says, "Oh, my creature, don't you know that my creature so-and-so was sick, but you didn't visit him? Isn't it so that if you had visited him, you would have found me with him?" Indeed, the sick person, Ibn Arabi says, never stops remembering and uttering God, a dhikr of exigency and need. It is the root dhikr upon which the existence of the enabled being is founded, and the true exalted beyond is seated with the one remembering who in the dhikr. And learn that the matter is fenced in by four truths. The first, al-awwal, the last, the akhir, the outward, the zahir, the inward, the batin. And the configuration of the universe is upon four. Thus, the required behaviors, the fara'id, the things that we must do, are made to stand. And she is the standing of the first, the awwal, and then making the nawafil, the extra, stand, and she is the establishment of the next, the akhirah, in your outward, your zahir, and in your inward, your batin. If that process rules in you, in the outward and in the inward, a rule of God has universalized throughout your configuration. When you witness this as a tasting in yourself, you know what the fruit for you is of this matter. And of course, the fruit is when you have done the required and have done the extra, and that has universalized in the outside of you, that is the outside ritual, and the inside, that is the heart of the ritual, then universalized in all four of these, the fruit of that is when my creature does does the nawafil, the extra ones, I start to love it. And when I start to love it, I become its hearing with which it hears and its seeing with which it sees. So that's the fruit of a fourfold configuration, universalized of first, last, first is required, next, the last, the nawafil, the extra, inwardly and outwardly. You have in your outward 6 dimensions, 6 directions, which we call 3 dimensions. The 6 has complete perfection because she is the first perfect number. Because her 6th, when added to her 3rd and her half, is like the sum. That is 6 equals 1/6 plus 1/3 plus 1/2. And the heart in your inward has 6 facets and 6 faces, each direction having a facet coming from the heart. It is an eye of this direction. By this eye you see the true, and the true shines radiantly and tajalli to you in the name outward. So we have 3 visible physical dimensions and 3 heart dimensions that are unseen. So we are in a 6-dimensional world, 3 visible, 3 invisible. And if the tajalli of the directions, all of them, is universal over all, given that who is over everything enveloping, the heart, masculine name, makes universal over his facets, whatever appears to him from the true in every direction, every dimension. You become light, all of you. So we mentioned who is the first, the last, the outward, the inward, and who is of all-knowing. And of course, you've got to play with the Mobius strip at some point in your life. So I recommend go home, take a piece of paper, write easy, twist it. What happens is you take something that's flat, you rise it out of the 2nd dimension and twist it, bring it back in, and make a single. So this is a single surface. There is a single surface. And if you're an engineer, you make a Mobius strip for gears, because when you have a rubber belt, like an air conditioning belt, that goes around, if you have a regular one, the inside wears out and the outside is beautiful. You throw it away because the inside wears out. If you have a Mobius strip, you have only one surface, so you have half the wear. And if you're a physicist, then these are the particles with spin 1/2, which is the opposite way of saying it spins twice to get back to the beginning. So this particle has to go around twice to get back to where it started from. Okay. And of course, this is another interesting metric. We just mentioned that when I love the creature, I become its hearing with which it hears. And also, is when my creature approaches me a handspan, I approach a forearm. So when the creature approaches a handspan, I approach a forearm. And that metric is that the divine is on one of these sides and we're on the other side. As we go around twice, and the divine goes around twice, and we go around once, and only that one revolution allows us to have the double revolution of the divine. So one handspan to one forearm. This was well known throughout the world, especially well known throughout the Muslim world, and the idea that we are in a 3-dimensional surface. This picture here, we have a diagram that you might see in some of these manuscripts, and if you look at it very carefully, you'll understand that the person who drew this diagram was trying to explain how things operate in a 3-dimensional surface on a hypersphere. And so he says explicitly, when you go from the Aleph to the Ba, as you come down this way, you reach an equator. And when you get to the equator, you start ascending the rest of the way. So obviously the diagram was the best they could do. It's a very flat diagram. But he's telling us explicitly, you descend until you get to the equator, and then you begin to ascend until you get to the last. These are the 9 letters, the ta, ha, alif. So this is the ta, ha circle. This is the circle that there is a descent that comes down here. And there's what Ibn Arabi talks about is the munazzah, the place that you reach to meet the divine. The divine says, I come down to the sky of your world in the 3rd part of the night, asking, is there anyone needing repentance, repenting so that I may give repentance? Is there anyone asking for forgiveness that I may give forgiveness? Is there anyone asking for something that I may give? And that is the descent of the divine to a level where we can meet the divine. Our ascent to there is actually a descent, because you know how we have a pot of tea? Until the pot of tea goes like that, nothing's coming out of it. So we have to ascend by descending. So our ascent up to where the divine is, to meet the divine, is our going lower and lower and lower. And that's why the sujood is the best position of the salah. So the divine comes down and meets at the equator, waits for us to ascend in one way, but the way we ascend is by going down. So as we continue to go down, we are actually going up. We meet at, of course, where do we meet? And so the ha, the hu, and so ta, ha. So alif descends down, hits the equator, and then coming up from this world into meeting is ta, ha. So ta, ha, ha, mim, yasin. This is the story of the Nur Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's one that today people will just zip over this diagram, not sure what the heck is going on. It is a representation, if we understand it, of this hypersphere. There's a few scholars and historians have come out and shown that Dante's his paradise, Paradiso, is also a hypersphere, and that they explain how Dante saw this. And it probably is just about everyone in these Middle Ages saw this kind of three-dimensional surface. And in a sense, the growth of what we call science today is moving away from that, saying that all that's occult, esoteric, magical, superstitious, and we're something else. And we only accept those things which we can see and touch and do something with. So even today, if you say to a scientist, tell me about consciousness, they'll say, well, we'll talk about cognitive processes maybe, but we're not going to talk about consciousness, because that's what we spent the last 300 years going away from. So I've had to study a lot to figure out what the heck Ibn Arabi is saying, and I had to rediscover this world, which, if I were 300 years earlier, would have known as this is how things just are. You would see the dome of the mosque, the tiles going this way, and you say, of course we're in a six-dimensional world. What else are we in? So it goes that way. Next. Now this, the word that we've also used a lot is barzakh, and the barzakh is the no bounded volume. So it's the one where you have a volume which is null, which means there's nothing there, and it's bounded, which means that it has a beginning and an end. So it has a beginning and an end with nothing in it. So it's a barzakh, a no bounded volume would be, you come like la 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 la, you're already on the other side. There's no place to go through, but the moment you touch it, you're on the other side. Which, if you've grown up, when I was growing up, was how Pac-Man works. And she goes off this side, and then this Pac-Man comes back the other side. That's actually a hypersphere. So Pac-Man understood that. The concept here, so this is an iceberg, but the bulk is what's really going on, and the tip is what we think is everything. But the tip is just the tip of the iceberg, and the bulk is the bulk. And physicists in the 19th century, and a few strange ones later on in the 20th century, like David Bohm, would say that this is where everything happens. And then this is a subset, is a derivation of what's happening here. So what's really happening is happening in the unseen. And what we see here is a shadow or a projection of what's happening there. And David Bohm was, as far as I can remember, a very strange and troubled human being, trying to get these ideas out. And because he was such a great physicist, pretty much listened to, but lots of troubles. He finally, very close, just before he died, apparently, he came down to Albuquerque, and some of the Navajo, the Diné people, were doing some dances and some circles, and he joined in, and they said, there's this little old British, tight man letting it all out and just finding out where he belongs. And the person who was a great admirer of her and a biographer of him said that, he died with a smile on his face. He had found what he needed to see. So this is vector multiplication. Maxwell takes vector multiplication to try to understand electromagnetic fields, and then he realizes that in the unseen there is some pattern developing which causes these fields to do the following things. What David Bohm did is he found a way of removing every single field and having a space which had no field, and finding out that there was still a potential in there. There was still a vibrating hum. There was still something there, even though there were no fields anywhere in sight. So he understood that the real place that all these things happen is there. And you can go to the tip and take away every field and still have a hum coming from that field there. So these are the two oceans that are loosed, the two oceans that come, they crash, but they never cross the barrier. They do not pass through. So what the teaching is for us here is the dream. So if you say, I'm going to remember my dream tonight. So I start going to sleep, and I think, okay, stay away, and I'll just go into your dream, remember your dream, and I'll do it. Remember my dream. I'm going to remember my dream. And then you wake up in the morning after your dream. Because you cannot go from there to here. And you can be here, and you can be here, but you cannot go through. You cannot go through them. They do not pass through. So we'll see. So how does this work? The tip and the bulk. So the tip might look small, the bulk is huge. The widow's might be a penny, but its value is huge. We talk about reward and punishment for action. So Muslims talk about reward, punishment, and amal, actions. And it's not reward and punishment, it's consequences, in the sense of consequences and compensation. So I usually translate it as recompense, because pence is the idea of weight, and the weight is the idea of evaluating. Evaluating something is to find out its weight. So you weigh something and you evaluate something, and this is heavier. And if it's heavier, it preponderates. So you say, how are you feeling? Well, I'm preponderating. Well, you don't have friends up there. How are you feeling? I'm preponderating towards we should go to the cafe this evening. That's because that weighs heavier. So that kind of weighing is what happens. So the widow's mite is put in this pan, the scale pan, and it's weighed over here, and it turns out to be super weighty, heavy, highly evaluated, highly valued. So the two scales have a compensation. So the compensation of the penny is compensated over here by this huge weight, because that's how heavy it is. And so this is loan God a goodly loan, which says that use some of your credit in here, over here, to say this one is a loan to God, meaning that this 10 units is going to be credited over here. And Allah says, and Ibn Arabi can't understand how we don't understand this, he says, so how would you, if you are told, invest in this place here, your wealth that you invest will be double, triple, sevenfold, 70-fold, 700-fold, and when you get there, you'll not only have the interest or the profit, you'll have the principal as well. And Ibn Arabi says, with a deal like that, why are we not doing that? How much more sort of seductive financially could that be? Well, that's because we don't see this area, and we don't have the certainty in the unseen that would allow us to say, to see that one one widow's mite made this kind of difference. And so the compensations are typically 770, 700. We do this little thing, and then Allah adds to the weight over here 7 times, 70 times, 700 times. Okay, next one. Yeah. This one. Okay. So, the Ajala Musamma. I have pretty much been asleep to that phrase. This Ajala Musamma is incredibly important. Ibn Arabi has an entire chapter on it, and it's a chapter somewhere around page 5,200 that you could say explains everything. So this Ajala Musamma is very, very important. So this is the one we were talking about, the barzakh on the two sides, that God takes the souls when they die, and when the one who isn't dying, so the ruh is taken out, pulled out. And if that person is to die, then the ruh stays on this side. And then the body stays there, and then eventually is washed and buried. If the body is not to die, the ruh is put back into it for an ajala musamma, an appointed time. And so everything that comes, every ruh, every event that comes from this unseen into this world is an ajala musamma. It's its right time. And some of you will have grandmothers who would, when they had a decision to make, would ask a child. So you say, what should we do? Yes, this or that. And the child instantly answers. Or you would ask someone, first thing that comes to your head, what do you think we should do? Boom. That's the ajala musamma. You're asking, what is the thing that comes directly from there and is the appointed time for here? And that's also why if you had that kind of grandmother, that she would not jerk you awake when you are sleeping. Because your ruh is there, your body is here, it's not a good idea to miss anything when it is coming back. So how is there communication between the unseen world and the seen world? And of course the primary communication device is risalat, is the messengers. And the messengers are given something in that world, wake up in this world, or come to in this world, and say what they were given in that world. That communication has to come out and then come back in here. It cannot cross the barzakh. And the way that this, and so I said risalah, but also nabuwat. And nabuwat, we use the word prophethood or something like that. Now, whenever Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was going off on missions with his companions, if they would wake up in the morning, and the first thing he would do is say, "Did anyone have a dream? Did anyone have a dream? Tell us your dream." Because Ibn Arabi says he was so solicitous, so eager to see nabuwat in his community. I mean, he was so eager to see prophets in his community. We don't call them prophets today because the true dream is 1/46th, a fraction of nubuwat, because the rest of nubuwat is bringing a law. So people today don't bring laws, but they bring the true dream. They bring the ajala musamma from the other world to here for the people. And he wanted to see nabuwat, he wanted to see prophethood of that kind, of the true dream, in his community. And so Ibn Arabi says, and that's why today among our friends, no one ever is, we don't call ourselves Nabi, even though we are true dreamers. And that's out of deference to the law-giving Nabuwat, the law-giving prophethood. So and so you ask why do we have Dobie lens up all the blunders up there? That's because now I need to explain that. All right. If you've heard the word muallim, which is the word for teacher, muallim is the knower maker. It makes you know. So the muallim is from ilm, and so the one who makes you know. But muallim is also the mark or the sign, and the muallim is the one who makes a mark on you. Now, if you have been in, and I don't know if they still do this, but in parts of India, you would take your clothes and put them in a pile. The washerman would come, pick up this pile, throw it in the cart, start with every other piece of clothes after making a mark. And then take it down to the river and washing it. And Ibn Arabi says, and here you see the rahmah is one, the consequences of that rahmah are multiple. So it said the sun has one effect. The sun is one, but the effects are multiple. So the washerman gets darker and darker, and the clothes get whiter and whiter. So the sun is one, two different effects. And so the washerman then comes back, and somehow the next morning, those pile of clothes are your clothes. If you look carefully, you'll see the launderer's mark, saying that these were your clothes. That mark is the one that when you have left your body or your shirt, the mark is made to it. And when you put that shirt back on, when you enter your body again, you look at your body, you look at your shirt, and you find out what mark was put there. And so that's why when you wake up and you've had a dream with a mark, you'll say, what was that dream? What was I supposed to do? What was I supposed to know? And that way you may go through that day in a kind of a, was there something I was supposed to do? And if someone comes up and says iridescence, that's right. That reminds me. That's the mark that I got. I had to understand what iridescence is. And so, so these are the things that will happen to you as you begin to understand your dream world. And so the dream world is looking for the mark. The ruh is taken out of your body. You are sleeping. It comes here. It meets people. See, everything on this side is fana. Everything is annihilated and destroyed. It comes and goes. Everything on this side is baqa, stays forever. And so you'll find people here who haven't been born yet, people who are long dead, people who are alive but completely on the other side of the world. And so what happens here, a mark is given to you, and that mark, then when the ruh comes out and back into your body, you look at your body and you say, what mark has been put on me? And that mark is also called a caller, or in Arabic, a daya. A daya is a caller, the one who calls out to you. And it's kind of, the mark is saying, hello, hello, hello. And then when you say, someone says iridescent, you say, oh, that's what I'm remembering. You say, yeah, duh. So that's the daya. That's the one who's the caller to you. And so, let me read this one to you. Yeah, so this is, So, Allah Exalted said, it is who created you from clay, then decreed an appointed term, Ajlan Musamma. And it is the end point of the lifespan of every living being who receives death, and with who is another appointed term from Quran, and is the term of life for everyone who was in one's first life before dying. And it is expressed as quickening, as resurrection. Now learn, you who are listening, that with the family of God, when the true attracts them to Him exalted beyond, such as a murid who wants God, or a murad who is wanted by God, He makes in their heart a caller, inviting them to seek their felicity and to dig deep for her, and to scratch out a hollow for her. And that scratching out a hollow is the imagery of as a nest in the earth and dust for laying eggs, and as a hollow place in the hearth to take away the hot ashes and put a lump of bread in there and have a tandoor. So they find in their hearts a tenderness and a lowering and a seeking of peace and freedom from what the people are up to, with their rabid rushing and their envying one another and their turning their backs to each other and their mutual shunning and aversion. Then when they are fully complete in the generous virtues, or they get close to completing them, they find in themselves a caller, inviting them to retreats and being alone away from people. Among them, some take to journeys and stay fast to the mountains and the empty deserts. And among them, some have their journeys in the country. Everything the people of the country are familiar with and are acculturated to, they leave, departing for something else. And among them, some set themselves apart in their houses, making them a lodge, and being alone there, and being curtained off from the people. All of that is in order to bring about for them solitude and independence in the true, who call them to Him and to intimacy with Him. And then Ibn Arabi says, then what may happen after that? This makes them lonely and distressed. And so they seek out created beings like them. But then after they've had company with the created being, they experience a longing for what they had before. And at that moment, there's a flow of pleasure going through your senses and your spirit. And you are brought during a new encompassing, an address and a divine notification of your state, or what you have been called to. It is like what happened to Ibrahim ibn Adham when he was called from the pommel of his saddle. It is not for this you were created, and you were not commanded to do this. And in the end he was told, if you were searching for me, you already lost me at the first step. And lastly he was told, you are my creature. And Abu Yazid Bistami, the one from Islam, Abu Yazid Bistami, at that point he wanted to go off and find God. So he went off and he met some strange old man in the road, and the strange old man said, where are you going? What are you doing? He says, well, I am going to look for God. And he says, oh, that's the one who said that the one you are searching for told me that you left him behind in Bistam. Abu Yazid Bistami. So you left him behind from where you have gone, your home. So he went back to Bistam, and then he found what he needed to find. Next one. So that's the Daya, the one who calls. And Ibn Arabi in the chapter of love has some of his poems that describe his experience of having this call. And I was connected to the one I loved for 20 years, and I wasn't aware of whom I was loving, and I found no patience. And my eye had not gazed toward the goodness of her face, and my ears had not heard any dhikr mentioning her at all, until the lightning flashed into my view from a side protected. He blessed me one day, and he tormented me forever after. So the lightning flash and the side protected. The side protected is through that three-dimensional surface. While I was, for 20 years, a dragoman, conveying love, he was embracing my secret soul. I didn't know whom I loved, and I didn't recognize any name of his. And I didn't know who this was who compressed my chest, until there shone to me her face through her niqab, like a night cloud drifting from the full moon. The dragoman is the one who is an envoy. The prince, the Ottoman prince, sends an envoy to a people, and that envoy is in charge of making sure that the prince's commands are understood and accepted. So Ibn Arabi has this passage where he talks about the dragoman, the tarjuma, and what I have begun to understand very, very recently, and it helped guide me into what this approach should be and is. A translation is when I grew up in Geneva, and we'd go to the UN and listen to the simultaneous translation. It was absolutely amazing. French in one ear, English out the mouth, German in one ear, English, French out the other mouth. I mean, it was just, that's translation. Comes in, comes out. And you don't say, the guy's an idiot, you really shouldn't be listening to this, or that was really important. You just, those words in this other language. That's translation. Interpretation is what academics and spouses do. And it's like, what he's trying to say is, what she's trying to say is. That's interpretation. So I know I'm not a translator, I'm not an interpreter. I then realized I'm a dragoman. And a dragoman says, Ibn Arabi has made me an envoy to say, give this counsel that I'm telling you to all of my holy friends. And so there is a translation, but there is also what Ibn Arabi would say to us, because we don't know what those words mean, even those words in English. So the dragoman is responsible for bringing the entire mission and vision conveyed to his holy friends. And next. And one of the ways we talked about the Arabi Mubin, the clarifying Arabi, when you see what Ibn Arabi does in the openings revealed in Mecca, when you read, when you have one glimpse of what his vision was, what he saw on the youth etched in light, you go back to the Quran and you read the Quran directly, and Ibn Arabi will say, you go to the place where the Quran was revealed. You go to that place, and you are standing there watching the revelation being handed over to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you take that, and that's called istishara, where you make it your externality, your whole outward being, because you have been there and you have seen that. And so Nun wal qalam wa ma yasturun. So Nun is the womb. And this dot here is a dot only because you're looking at it this way. If you look at it this way, you see it's a line. And if you look at it another way, it's a great circle. So all great circles, when looked at on their side, are a line, and all lines, when looked at head-on, are a point. So the aleph is already in here. The aleph is hidden from us to shade so that we don't have the aleph in Arabic never connects with what comes next. So if you have an aleph, there's nothing that comes next. No connection to what comes next. And if nothing comes next, so if the aleph is, we aren't. So the aleph, for our sakes, is hidden so that we can be. So the womb, and then wa. And wa is number 6, and this one survives in Latin. When we 6, of course, is sex, and the wa and the number 6 are all sexual imageries. And wal qalam, the pen. So the nun, we take aleph, and then put the dot here, you have a za, and then go here, and you have a lam. So A-Z-L, azal. So the womb, the nun, which is the whale where Jonah was, the whale, the womb, is azal, timeless, in timelessness. So the in timelessness, before Adam was between clay and water, there was the qalam, the pen, the first intellect, the middle Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So all of this is within here. You could read the entire verse with just the nun and the dot. You could read the entire word with the verb of the wa, of how the joining is going to take place. The qalam at that moment is told to write down everything that was, is, and will be. And the first question you have to have is, this is the first creation. And the history is going to be a short history, but it's not. If history as a circle has no beginning, middle, or end until you hit a notch. The moment you put a notch on the circle, this is the present. Everything here will be the future, everything here will be the past. And so Muhammad said that when I came here to this world, the zaman, the time period, came back to where it had begun. So this is the column, the circle, has come back to where it begins. And so, wama yasturuna. So this word here, S, T with a dot under it, R. A satar right now is a butcher who divides things up, but a satar is also the mistara, this piece of board here with these metal strips. So what happens is you put the paper on top of the metal strip, you take a pencil and you go like this, and you get your lines. So you see where your lines are in your manuscript. Wama yastaruna. So what is being lined or etched or recorded or written? You have a very unusual situation, a very strange situation. I can only see the lines if I cover them up. And the moment I cover them up, they have an effect. When I go like this, they make a trace from the unseen. Because the paper is all I see. It's covering up this mistara. It's covering it up. The paper is all I see. When I go like this, magically, or from the unseen, from the beyond, a line appears. This metal never touched the line. Never touched the line, never touched the pencil that I made the etching, the rubbing off of. This never manifested itself. This never came out to be seen. It's hidden. But it's perceptible when I do the rubbing, all of a sudden the line appears. So the line appears without ever crossing from one realm to the other realm. Now, does that sound familiar? There's a barzakh. This is the bulk of the iceberg. This is the tip of the iceberg. There is no communication between the steel line here and the rubbed-on pencil line here. There is no communication by particle or by wave. And yet, its truth is perceptible when it comes out into this manifest place, without the line itself ever coming here. So this mistara is enough to tell us, and wama yashtaruna, so that everything that happens in the bulk, in the unseen, comes over. If we have a piece of paper, comes over, it doesn't come over, appears on this side, but it's not it, but it is it, because that's what made this rubbed line. So I say who, lahu, is, isn't. It is who, and it isn't who. And so that process requires the paper, requires the skin of the universe, requires the body. So the body becomes a veil which allows us to see the light. If light is shining at you, and you are blinded by light, you're blinded by light. So you put your body up there, and it's, oh, now I see the light. So the veil is what allows me to see the light. Light is a veiling, blinding veil. I can't see anything. If I get closer and closer, I see less and less. Allah says, I am closer than your jugular cord. So that means, and I still can't see, that means proximity is a veil. And then, of course, distance, we all know, is a veil. Light is a veil. And our body is a veil, but a veil that now allows us to see the light. So the veil allows us to see the light. The body allows us to see the light. The who, these steel lines, can become lines not by going from there to here, but by appearing there, appearing here as an effect, with no communication or crossover from there. So the who comes out as a breath and then goes there. It's changed by the way the mouth and the palate and the dentals and the labials and all of these things change the who, and it comes out as a ja and a ka and a la and a ma. And so if you say, is the ma the who that came from the heart, the breath that came from the heart, you say yes and no. You couldn't have the ma if you didn't have the ah. You couldn't have the meme unless you had the aleph, which had to be bent over like this. You couldn't have the lam unless the aleph came here and then came and made a hook at the end here. So until you have all of these things happening, you have an aleph. And the aleph is therefore in everything, but never itself, or in Arabic, herself, manifest. And the who is in everything, but never manifest. Because the who is aziz, inaccessible. So Ibn Arabi, this is his refrain in a sense. The ayn, so the ayn is a source point, it's an eye, it's a wellspring. The ayn is one. And so the forms, the images, the changing state, the properties are different, are multiple, are manifold. So if you understand that the source point is one, the changing states are multiple, then whatever changing state you see, you are not hidden or veiled from the fact that it is the ayn which has changed the state. And so I can see the ayn on this side, I can see the ayn on this side. And if I can recognize that the ayn is in every manifold property, every multiple form, every different image, then I am an arif, one who recognizes. So our job is to recognize, because I am a hidden treasure and I long to be recognized. So the recognition is, can you look, the vistara, the ruled tablet, cannot come out and become manifest. It cannot be there. It must be there. It must be unseen. But it wants to be recognized. And the way it's recognized is by rubbing the body and seeing that indeed the lines are appearing on this rubbing. The lines are appearing. It's by watching and hearing the letters forming in the mouth and seeing, sounds like ja, ka, ba, ta, la, but it's coming from hu, from ah. And it looks like a ja, and it looks like a qaf, and it looks like all that, but it's an alif, which has just changed her form into multiple forms. So Ibn Arabi says, so my friend, do not be idle and waste your time in looking at movements and their truth, because the moment is precious. Look at what the end result is and lean for support there, using what you are provided from its truth. Indeed, if you are using your sight, you are aware that exactly what is this. The end result is the moving and the mover, because the moving is a hidden entity, and the mover is behind the veil of existence. Behind the veil of existence. But the end result is visible, face uncovered, abstracted from her configuration, so lean for support on her. This is my counsel to you, my friend. That's why the true doesn't attribute to itself any transferring except citing the end result. So you would become familiar with what exactly is the transference attributed to him during some descent, such as his word, our cherisher descends to the sky of this world during the third of the remaining part of the night. Then he cited the end result and said, so he asked, is there someone turning for repentance that I may give that turn and turn to that person? Is there someone calling for someone that I may give that person what that person needs? Is there someone seeking forgiveness? And he speaks like this many times, so as to relieve his creatures from having to toil with thinking, and making excuses. Yes, the goal of the movements, the doings, is what the end result is, not seeing them with your own eyes, and this is the way it is for everything. So trying to see that with our own eyes, no, seeing this, seeing that by seeing this is the goal for everything. Next one. And so we get to this next area. So this is a poem, Kitab Fihi Ma Fihi. So Fihi Ma Fihi, and if you are Rumi people, you will realize that something that Rumi wrote was later on, we don't know after Rumi's death or when it was given the name Fihi Ma Fihi. But as Wafihada is Maqil, that it is appropriate that one say what was said. So this is some poem that Fihi Ma Fihi is a poem that comes out, and Ibn Arabi cites this poem to explain something that he wants to tell us right now. He's going to say, so if you want to talk about transcendence, you're talking about Zat. And the Zat is the one that is inaccessible. And Zat is feminine, so you say she is inaccessible. And she is fenced off. And so there is no access to the Zat. Kama qala, laysa kamithlihi shay'un. And so there is nothing like who. And so mithlihi, who, there is nothing like. But and this is because the Zat is Kamal, is perfect. Wahuwa Samir Basir. But who is hearing and seeing? And this is for the perfection and completion of the divine. So the completion of the Zat is, I am inaccessible, laysa kamithlihi shay'un. There is nothing like me. And the completion of the divine is, who is the hearer and the seer? And this requires, this is demanding an object of hearing and an object of seeing. So if who is hearing and seeing, then the divine, Ilahi, requires and demands that there be something to be heard and something to be seen. And everyone who demands or seeks is a talib is vaqa, is a widow, as one who has lost the husband, because you have lost what you need to be. And so the one who is demanding something or seeking something is the one who needs to have someone. And without that someone, they are widowed. One is widowed. Just as anyone who demands that there be states that a creature would have is widowed unless there is a creature actually to have those states. And we hear that Wallahu Ghani, and Allah is independent and doesn't need anything, doesn't demand anything, but Hamid. And so Hamid is praised and thanked. So the independent doesn't need anyone. Now we're looking at Zat. But the one who is praised needs something to praise, be praising. And that means that the Ilahi needs to have a praiser. And so in the one verse, Wallahu Ghani al-Hamid, you have the transcendence of independence and the demand or the need for that which would praise. But lisan al-adab, but the correct protocol and courtly courtesy is that you speak that he seeks you for your sake, not for the sake of who? He seeks you for your sake, not for his sake. And so when you are in this courteous language, it is correct that you would say what was said, that this is a kitabun, a book, fihi ma fihi, in it what is in it. Badi'un fil ma'aniya, strange and wondrous in its meaning. And then when you see what is fihi, what is in it, right, you see the pearl, yahweh, that is surrounding and enveloping it. Okay? So this is this manzil, he said. This is chapter 298. And this book, which in the Saradanahu, which I am stringing together like pearls that I'm putting one after the other on a necklace. So this word, this discourse, that I am stringing together one after the other. And this book, which I have etched. This is back to that word about having the mistara here and putting it there. You etch it and the lines come through. So this is a book which I am etching this way so that the lines from the board are coming through, as it were, to the surface. Fafihi mafihi. So in it is what is in it. Lisanul haqiqat, if we're speaking in the true language, or the language of truth, it points to the matter being above what has been spoken of and what has been written down. And it's not in the power of the tarjuma, of the dragoman, the interpreter, of it, or the ibadah, the passage from the paper to your ear to your heart. That ibadah, that passage, it's not possible, it's not in its capacity to be more than what zuhir, than what comes out apparently, which you can see. And Allah is akbar, too big for that to be. So it's not possible for the book to be more than what it can be, because it's not possible. Allah's akbar is greater than that. That is, and then this poet hides this true language and says, Badi'u fi ma'ana, that strange and wondrous. And it's as if the poet is saying that kitab, a book, fihi ma fihi. Now the ma is not what is in it, but what is in it. Fihi ma fihi. This is a book. Wow, what is in it? It's wondrous in its meanings. And so this is the language of adab. This is the language of courtly protocol. Because otherwise, the language of truth says it is a book. In it, in the book, ma fihi is what is in who. Is what is in he, which is who. A book, in it is what is in who. And so, in it is what is in it. There is a mark, and we talked about the longer is mark. So around the mark, there grows a pearl. And inside the shell, there is a pearl. And inside the pearl, there is a mark. And the pearl envelops who? The pearl envelops who? So fihi ma, in it is what is in who. But that's the language of haqiq. But the language of adab is to say, no, a book. In it, oh, what is in it? It's a wonderful book. And so that's where we're going to, and so Now we get to the idea of language of courtesy and the language of truth. And we can now talk about tariqat, sharia, and haqiqat. And tariqat, sharia, and haqiqat is the path, the special path, and then sharia is the path to the water, which is a road to the water. So it's a big, even road to the water. That's called law or sharia. And haqiqah, which is the truth. This is the true language versus the courtly language or the polite language. You did not throw when you threw, but God threw. The first is you did not throw, and that's tariqah. And as we've talked about, the tariqah, when you enter the path, everything you think you knew is wrong. So you forever hear, you did not throw. That's not what really happened. That's not how it was. This is what you learn when you enter the path. You begin to see, you did not throw. That's tariqah. When you threw is sharia. So if you say, I did this, then I am in sharia. If I am sick, I am outside of sharia. If I am incapable, I am outside of sharia. If I have no aql, I am outside of sharia. If I say, I did this, then I'm in sharia, and I did throw. So exactly what was negated is now affirmed. When you threw, but God threw. This is the language of haqiqah. When you look at it in the real way, you see that God threw. But you say, but if you said, I did it, then you have sharia. If you say, I have no idea what happened, you have tariqah. If you say, I see that God did that, you have haqiqah. So protocol-based language, adab, versus truth-based language.
What would be the marifah?
Yeah, that's well, marifah is what we had before. That that I am a hidden treasure wanting to be recognized. So marifah is when you recognize all the multiplicity being coming from the ayn, which is one. And so so Allah has the unenviable situation of having to show, be seen, and recognized without actually coming into view and coming into manifestation. So what manifests is the multiple states and the changing states and the different images and the different forms, which we should see and recognize who is there. So that the next, yeah. And this one more illustration that Ibn Arabi uses to explain how this whole situation works. If you go to the Urs in some places, if they don't have electricity, at night someone will do an ember stick like this to make beautiful things, Ibn Arabi tells us. And Ibn Arabi tells us, look at that thing that's being made. You see circles, and you know that it's a circle, but it's not a circle. It just looks like a circle. There is no circle there, but there's a circle. And you know that the ember is moving so rapidly that your eye can never see it. Now, Ibn Arabi would have loved the zoetrope and the movie, because when you move a frame 15 frames per second, we perceive it as continuous. So frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, frame 4. Ibn Arabi says, if you think there's motion, if you think this thing moves to that thing, you have a lot of explaining to do. There is this, there is this, there is this. And they pass by in the new creation so rapidly that we take it as continuous. Okay? And so when you think about that, Ibn Arabi tells us, think about that now. The frame or the stick, we are the pixels of this frame. But we never see the frame. So I never see you, I never see you, I never see this, I never see any of this. Because the frame is coming in and out of existence so fast. Has anyone seen frame 5,932 of Finding Dory? No. We don't know what the frame, we can't see the frame. What we see is the movie. So I don't see your frame, I don't see your entity, I see the movie, the light. And where's the light coming from? And where's the being coming from? All of these frames only do anything as long as a light is coming to project them. And as long as they're projected, then we say, look, this is a continuous thing. But if we stop the movie, there's nothing there. That you can't. This circle is only there because it's moving, and not this entity here is invisible. So it's not can we see God? It's can we see us? And the answer is no. All we can see is God. And this is the next lesson that people used to know who did shadow plays. There's shadow plays. They put the puppets in one box called the womb, and when they're done the shadow play, they put the puppets in a second box called the grave. And if you want to understand the configuration of the universe and its visible emergence and the rapidity of the fusions, we look now at the shadow play. Whoever wants to recognize the truth of what I am gesturing at for this issue, let them consider the shadow play and its image forms. And who is the narrator for these image forms before the little children who are sitting away from the covering curtain, drawn down between them and the players moving these forms, and the narrator speaking about them? The matter is just that way with the image forms of the world. The people, most of them, are these little ones to whom we assign obligations, we assign Sharia to, so they would recognize and become familiar with where these images are coming to them from. So most of the people have a law so that they can begin to understand that there's another world and that you give charity because there is another world. And the little ones in that sitting are delighted with and enjoying the play, while the mindless adults are taking it as mere play and amusement. And if you grew up in a Muslim society, you will know this verse very well. Play and amusement, that's just frivolity. Play and amusement. And so the mindless adults look at this and say, that's just play and amusement. While the ones who know, the real ulama, the ones who know, are crossing the play allegorically over from one realm to the other, from the tip of the iceberg, the shadow play, to what it is a shadow of, the bulk of the iceberg. That's why there comes out in the first act a person called a describer. And he gives a sermon, a khutbah, glorifying God and declaring Him majestic. Then he speaks about the characters, one after the other. This one will come, this one will come. And who are the image forms which will emerge after him from behind the curtain. Remember, you have the Vistara with the lines. It's going to emerge from behind a piece of paper. It's going to emerge from behind the curtain. Then the group is given to learn that God raised this as a parable for His creatures so that they would cross over allegorically. And they would learn that the matter of the world with God is like these image forms with their being moved and stirred like puppets. And that this curtain is a veil of the secret of destiny which operates throughout the creations. And despite this, all of it, they are taking it, the mindless ones, as mere play and amusement. And it is His exalted work. The ones who take their religion as mere play and amusement, this is their religion that they're taking as mere play and amusement. Then the describer disappears. He takes the place of the first created being among us, and that is Adam, on whom be peace. And when he disappears, his disappearance, hidden from us, is to his cherisher, behind a curtain of his unseen. And God speaks the true and who is the guide along the way. So this becomes the way the movie unfolds. Each pixel, each dot is us, is our entities. This dot, with the CMYK of 20%, 30, 40, 100, this one, it's the same dot, accepts this color, accepts that color, accepts being an umbrella, accepts being a girl's dress, accepts being, not a very good butterfly or whatever, accepts being that. Each of these dots accepts the CMYK color put on it, accepts the adjectives put on it, accepts the divine names put on it. And by accepting, what happens is that each dot in time 1, time 2, time 3, times 4, each dot is individually faced. And in Arabic, Ibn Arabi talks about the mutawajjah. The wajh is facing that dot. each dot gets faced of certain exact angle facing, which gives that dot its wujud, its being, and its sifat, like high, living, kalim, mutakalim, speaking. And every part of what makes that dot something special is phased at. This pixel, this pixel, this pixel, this pixel, this pixel, this pixel. Every single pixel individually faced. And they only are when Allah faces that one, makes it be, and it is this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And then time 2, the same process. Every single one turned to face the face, given its cyan and its yellow and its other and its black, given its sifat, and then time 3. Every single one faced and done. When you stand back, you get T1, T2, T3. All of this becomes a movie. All of these pixels seem to become alive. And we say, oh, this person is doing that, they're doing that, they're doing that. But if you analyze it at this level, you say, oh, pixel 93, that's me. I'm doing this, and I'm doing that. And I don't necessarily see the bigger picture. But I'm completely related to every one of these pixels here. In a Cartesian grid, in Descartes' grid, which allowed him to operate on dogs while they were alive, that grid is one which says, I'm a point, I'm all by myself. And I'm a man, and I'm independent, and I can do what the hell I want. And in another viewpoint, likeness, which we lost likeness as a point of view. The only way to understand this pixel is to understand that pixel, and there's an angle between them. And if I need to know that angle, there's no fixed point, so I need to also know this pixel, and then this pixel. And so by describing where I am, I end up describing the position of every pixel next to me, and every relationship I have to every pixel that is here. And from this, Ibn Arabi says, that's why, or he says, descriptions of the arif, the one who recognizes, are more than can be counted. This is one of the indications for the tribe, for the truth of the arif and of marifat. I am bringing them up in order for you to understand what they mean with that, so that no one would say about us that we are alone on a path he isn't traveling alone. No, the path is one, even if each individual has a path singled out for him. Because the path to God exalted is the number of breaths of the creatures. That is, indeed, every breath is a path to Allah, and it is authentic truth. So to the measure you are missing out on knowledge of the breath and carefully tending to them, you are missing out on knowledge of the paths. And to the measure you are missing out on knowledge of the paths, you are missing out on their ends. And the end of every path is God, because who is to who returns the matter ultimately. So this one is two-edged. On the one hand, someone can't say to Ibn Arabi and his friends, oh, you guys are mystics, you've got such a great life, you have all these mystical experiences, you have such adventures, and God speaks to you and loves you, and you will never understand my path, and so I don't have to listen to you. You can't tell me anything. And on the other hand, it says that the path that I am on, whether it might seem mean, low, inferior, or superior, or anything, is that my one path. And that I have the resources and the information on my path that tell me exactly what I need to know. And no one has a path which is more accessible to what they need to know than they do. And so, no, the path is one, even if each individual has a path singled out. Next one. So remember we said for the pixels that who points faces the pixel, faces the point, and that point then gets its being. Ibn Arabi says, now learn that this being, this entity, is like the image, which is feminine, which is in the mirror. She is not exactly the viewer, and she is not other than the viewer, but she is the viewing sight by which, and by the viewer looking at it, this image emerges visibly. Now when you view yourself, you are other than this image from one perspective, and you are upon its image. So when I look in the mirror, I say, that's me, and then I say, It's upon my image. It's me. And then I say, but it's not me. And then I say, but it's not me. So those are the three. It's me, it's not me. And so that's the picture of the mirror. Now the mirror, if it's shaped this way, I'm shaped this way. The mirror is shaped this way, I get a particular kind of shape. If it's shaped this way. So, but my viewing, my looking, has no effect on the mirror. The mirror shape is predetermined. So if the mirror is shaped this way, this is how my image is going to come out. And when I look at the mirror, and I get close and get far, I'm looking at an image which is right here. So my eyes, if you watch someone in a mirror, their eyes are opening this way to focus on a point behind the mirror. So I say, look at my image. And they say, where's your image? I say, it's right here. Right there's my image. Where's your image? Right there's my image. So you see what you know is true to be unseen. And so, then he says, so we have who looks at the mirror? The mirror is shaped, and that mirror is shaped as an angel, a mineral, a human, a horse, an orbit. It's shaped a certain way. And then you are the image. And so Ibn Arabi says, that's why when you, the viewer, look at a distance from the mirror, you see this image getting distant in the invisible interior of the mirror. And when you get closer, the image gets closer. And when the image is level in the mirror, equidistant, and you, the viewer, lift your right hand, the image lifts her left hand in greeting to make you recognize her. Here I am, even if I am from your radiant brilliance and upon your form, still you are not I, and I am not you. And this is one of the most ancient of the cave paintings, are these handprints. So you have this handprint. And this is the raising the hand in recognition. Here I am. Even if I am from your radiant brilliance and upon your form, still you are not I and I am not you. So, who looks at the mirror? The mirror is shaped as an angel, as a horse, as a human being, and the image is you. So who looks at the mirror? The mirror is shaped as a human being, and the image is you. Who looks at the mirror and the image is you? Who looks at the mirror and the image is you? Remember, every pixel had to be pointed to, had to be faced, and when it's faced, when that point is faced, the image is you. The mirror is a shape of, makes you an angel, makes you a horse, makes you a rock. If you can understand what I am alerting you to, you have learned from where you are described by being and who is a sight of being, and from where you are described as non-being, and who is a sight of non-being, and who addressed you and who heard. You learned who worked and who was tasked, and you learned who you are and who is your cherisher, and where is your position. You see, you are indeed a sight of dependency on him exalted beyond, and he is independent of you in his thought. One of the great ones said, there is nothing in the gown but God. He meant this station. He means there is nothing in being except God. It is just as you say there is nothing in the mirror but the one who radiates to her. You are right with your knowledge that there's nothing in the mirror at all. And nothing of the mirror is in you, the viewer. You are right, too, with the perception of the variegations of the changing affect in the image yourself, in the mirror, while you, the viewer, are as you are, not changing. So glory to the one who makes parables and makes emerge the entities as an indication to him, that who is not like anything and nothing is like who. So there is in being only who, and being only gains benefit from who, and no sight of being emerges visibly to the eye except by radiant brilliance of who. The true is the viewer, the mirror is the enabled present realm, you are the image. So say about the world what you like, and affiliate the world to whomever you like. But after you have halted and learned this truth by a disclosing kashf and by knowledge, and if you refrain from applying something that the truth provides you universally, then refrain yourself only by law, by courtesy, as a courtesy with God. So lean on the divine protocol, and approach nearer to God by means of what he told you to approach him by. Namely, what he told Abu Yazid al-Bistami. Approach me by what is not mine, lowliness and dependency, until he pulls off the veil from you and you recognize yourself and you recognize your cherisher and you recognize who you are and who is. And God speaks the truth and who is the guide along the way. And so we have this situation. Now if you take the pixels of Surat and the embers of Picasso, we'll put all this together. We are on a movie set, and we have grips and gaffers and all these great words, and first boys and second boys, and all of these ones are around. And the statement comes, I am going to make a screen backlit by me. So this word here, that your cherisher said to the angels, I am going to be putting up or making in the earth a khalifa. Khalifa means someone min khalfa. So khalafa, khalfa. From behind one acts. So from behind the khalifa, someone is acting. So khalifa means the one behind whom someone is acting. So you can say, I am going to place in the earth a screen backlit by me. And the grips and the gaffers and the first boys and the second boys say, are you going to make in her, someone who will pollute in her and who will spill blood? While we are doing nothing but keeping this set beautifully immaculate and lovely and celebrating you and declaring you holy. And the answer is, I know something you don't know. And so let's visit this present and see what happens. Let's make two columns. Let's say our first column will be all the images. The first columns will be, we're going to say, show me all the columns which are God. So there we go. Okay, that column. And this column is empty. So you say, there is no God but who? So la ilaha illallah. And you say, illahu. And then let's make some other observations. We also have two columns when we get into this situation. We have to ask, which are the images God loves? Which are the images he doesn't like? So God does not like the polluters. He does not like the ones who exalt ungratefully. He does not like every arrogant boaster. He does not like the oppressor. He does not like the wasteful. He does not like the ignorance. God does not like the broadcasting of bad speech. He does not like the oversteppers of boundaries. And then we look at which images does God like. God indeed loves the turners in repentance, and he loves the purifiers. He loves the ones who put their trust in him. He loves the patient ones. He loves the thankful. He loves the givers of charity. He loves the ones of goodness. He loves the ones who fight in his ways in rows, as if they were a solid structure. And so when we look at all of those ones he likes, Ibn Arabi has the story of Abraham. And Abraham is called the friend of God in all of the traditions. And he's the friend of God because one day someone came to him and said, Abraham, will you take me as your guest for a meal? And Abraham said, I will accept you as a guest and be hospitable to you if you are to declare God one. And the person says, I should abandon my religion and the religion of my ancestors for the sake of a bite to eat. And he walks away. And at that moment, a revelation comes to Abraham, and he has said, Abraham, the man is right. I have been feeding him for 70 years, and in every one of those 70 years, he has been an ingrate. He never thanks me. He thanks other gods, never thanks me. And I still feed him. And you can't feed him one bite. You want him to abandon the deen of himself and his ancestors. Abraham comes back and says, come back, I want to be hospitable to you. And he says, what happened to you? He says, well, my God told me that he has fed you for 70 years and you've never thanked him. And if he can do that, then I must do that. And he said, you are truly a friend of God. And they go off and enjoy their meal. And the Quran said, the first meal, the prophet tells us that if you have a friend, you will follow the religion of your friend. So be careful who you befriend, because you'll be following their religion. Now, we also have the Quranic ayat, which says, do not make my enemies and your enemies friends and treat them lovingly. Do not make my enemies and your enemies friends and treat them lovingly. So Ibn Arabi says, if you want to be a friend of Ar-Rahman, if you want to be a friend of Ar-Rahman, beware, because you will then take on the deen, the religion of Ar-Rahman, which is to be ever so good and wonderful and fine and ihsan and most sincere and most helpful to all of your enemies and all of the enemies of God. Because that's how Rahman does. Even though they are his enemies, your enemies, this is what they get. Their life is expanded and extended to an old age, even though they do nothing but curse God every day. Their life is expanded and extended. So if you want to be a friend of Rahman, beware, because you will take on the religion of Rahman. And Ibn Arabi says, and I went on this path, and it is an easy path. It is the one where you are good to everyone. Anything that comes to you, it is for the good of all. And if you cannot help someone who is your enemy, and you cannot help them, but physically, then you do your best to pray for them inside and say, give them all good things, give them all wonderful things, but not letting them find out that you have even said a word about them. That is the path of the Deen of Rahman. I entered it, and it's the sweetest of all paths. But that is a path, because there are enemies, and there is Rahman. And so, what we get now is the concept that, if we could even see this, so facing each pixel and finding the images that are loved by the viewer, and those images that are loved by the viewer, always changing, always different, every saint and every peer, the face behind every face, the light beneath the robe of flesh, the golden letters of Quran, the Qutb and concealed Iman. So what is the actor in the movie, which is the screen which most beautifully reflects the viewer? And so the viewer looks at that screen, and projected here is this image. It's the image of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. All praise and thanks belong to God, and praising himself or self itself with infinite beautiful names, the loving cherisher and nourisher of all the worlds. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
One more slide, you want that?
There is? Oh, yeah. This book, Ibn Arabi says in a poem, he has this weird Arabic word, which is the limaçon in French. And what the heck is a limaçon? This is a limaçon. And he says, I would have drawn her for you, but I will just say she is a limaçon, which is this, that's a limaçon right here. And he says, and that's so that any contenders will not have any ammunition for me. But I went ahead and drew it for us. So for us, this is what that limaçon is. It's stuff. He says, he gives the word for limaçon, and he says that and you know he's talking about it, but he said, I won't tell you. And he says, but I won't draw it for you. So he said, I'll just tell you it's a limaçon, but I won't draw it for you, lest anyone start to argue. Remember, because kitabun fihi ma fihi, the polite way is saying, fihi ma fihi, how great it is. What it really is saying, in this book is what is in whom. I'm sorry, I never have any time, any idea what time it is. So if it's not late, please do your comments.
When one looks at the screen, right, at the mirror, it's the image appears there, but it's not really there. And it's not. So in a way that, that him being the actor of the screen and the rule being the screen, you're not really.
You go behind the mirror, and this is where you're focusing. This is where my image is, and there's nothing there. So only God sees God, and all that's in the gown is Allah. So Allah's got to come for that.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many questions. Thank you so much. I'm so bewildered. I mean, it's really so amazing. I very much appreciate So is it that the other world is a sort of projection onto this world, which is a reduced dimensionality, and literally, like in mathematics, you have dimensionality reduction methods, right? Like principal component analysis or whatever it might be, right? But you still capture the information that's in that higher dimension to that some degree, right? We might discard the ones where we say, well, we can't account for what's going on in that dimension as strongly, so we're going to sort of ignore it. It's noise or it's more subtle or whatever, but it's still there. And is that kind of what's happening? And our work is to reorient those axes and dimensions?
Absolutely. So Maxwell actually had 20 equations. So let's say you had A, B, C, and a scalar value, a number value. And what happened when Heaviside and Gibbs, when they took this in the 20th century, they took Maxwell and put it down to 4 equations, and then threw out the scalar part. The scalar part says that you have all these vectors, but then you have a potential, a scalar here, that even when all these vectors are gone, there's something here. Because it usually zeroes out, they said, let's just throw it away. So they threw it away. And Tesla said that's where all of his ideas were coming from, that if I could find out how to work with the scalar potential, then that's how this electromagnetic field exists in that other world, and it shows up in this world as a scalar potential, as a number that is ignored by vector analysis that we decided to give. So our job is to restore the scalar, and then to now look and see what, given this trace, given the rubbing on the page that shows these lines, what's behind it? What are these lines are straight. There's another line here, another line here, another line here. So the rubbing, and that's why rubbing is, when you rub a gravestone, I mean, it's not just because you're honoring the dead, it's also because you're going to that other world. You rub the gravestone, and then suddenly you read what was there, and the gravestone never passed into the page. And so we're looking at the rubbing and saying, I wonder what's underlying that rubbing. And the underlying says that this is a subset of that, this is a projective space of that. And then when you get projective space, you get the ring and the sphere, and you put the thing in, you project, each dot comes here around the sphere, and you look at the poles. Well, what happens when you look straight down, and when you look at 360 spheres, or the spherical mirror, now we talked about the spherical mirror, and you've seen Escher's, you looked at Escher looking at the spherical mirror, and it's all these things. And he says, I had the spherical mirror when I became an orb. I was leading the prayer in this mosque near Fez, and someone had come in late, and so when I turned around to do the prayer, the dua with everyone, I noticed that he didn't have the right count, so I told him, you missed one, you need to do one more. So seeing behind his back, and of course, because the Prophet ﷺ said that I see behind my back, and that's the spherical mirror. If you can see the spherical mirror, you see behind the back. And so it's time in the 19th century, this mathematics was there. Maxwell, the electrodynamic Maxwell, was the guy who did 27 lines of the Seal of Solomon, and then 27, of course, is the number of Arabic alphabet, not 28, 27, because the aleph is not a letter. So you have 27. So Maxwell, he dipped into something. He was there, and he got all this, and then he tried to say this in electrodynamic magnetic form. And Tesla tried to say the same thing. He knew that there was something going on with the scalar potential, that this, even though it zeroes out most of the time, it's still there. You can have 100 here and 100, negative 100 here, and it zeroes out. But that's 100, and that's negative 100. Those are big numbers. And so even if they zero out, don't we need to talk about it? And David Bohm, with the Aharonov-Bohm effect, he was able to remove all fields and find out that there was still a buzzing going on. There was still something there. A particle can come out of nothing and then go back into nothing with no field. So he said the fields are not creating the reality that we're seeing. Something beyond is creating the reality we see. And then as you mentioned the other, what information comes across. And that's the idea of hologram. So Bohm was also looking into this idea of hologram. And the hologram is something that is n-1 dimension, which contains information that is bigger than it. So if you have this hologram, and you're able to look at it, it's containing the knowledge of this picture and the knowledge of that picture in one picture. So in one picture, I can see it contains this much information. So David Bohm's idea was that if we live in a holographic universe, as the facets change, it's packed with information which we see. And the word packed, he used the word implicate order. That order is folded into it. So that yourself, Yusuf, Yusuf, Joseph, Joseph was written on the floor. And he says that's because implicit in all, or implicated in all of that body was the love for Allah, was the love for Yusuf. And so any one particle of it spelled out Yusuf, spelled out Allah. So every particle contained all the information. So that is that. So Halaj then becomes a hologram that contains all the information, and any piece you take contains all the information. Allah.
That was a big stop. Generally, I was just being carried along. I don't know how much I was grafted, but there's a point at which you start saying end result. And result sounds like a stopping place, whereas everything else seems to be in motion. So is it
Yes.
the end result,
Yeah.
or is it the origin from which everything comes?
Yeah, and you've just identified a dimensional issue. If I start speaking in the wrong dimension, this is so the end result. What you're on a bridge, and if you know that the bridge comes to here, there is an end, meaning it's a goal. Then this all makes sense. And if you don't have that goal, then you don't know how long I'm here and what this means. So actually, the way to most appreciate every moment of our existence on Mother Earth is to know that it will end and that it's going somewhere. If I don't know that, if I think I'm living forever, or if I'm freezing my body and waiting to be resurrected, then I'm disrespecting Mother Earth. My path has become completely confused and wrong-headed and erring. But if I know that it's going here, then I see that. Of course, when you get there, then there's something else. And so Ibn Arabi says, when he talks about the journeyer, he says, you're going to be journeying. You journey from the moment the cherisher says, am I not your cherisher? And they say, yes, you are a cherisher. And you are journeying when you are tossed down through the throne, onto the kursi, onto the footstool of do and don't do. So you are journeying there. And then you are journeying when you go from the footstool of do and don't do to the Atlas orbits and the orbits of Saturn and Venus and this comet and this asteroid. When you're moving through all of these things, you are journeying. And then you journey into the womb of your mother. And you come out of your mother, you look back to your mother, and she tells you what you need to know. And then you are journeying when you get to the grave, because in the womb, you are pressurized and get smaller and smaller and tighter and tighter and tighter until a channel opens up, a light at the end of the channel, and you move through. And then you get to the grave, you travel into the grave, it becomes more and tighter, tighter and tighter, and the puppet that was in the womb box is now in the grave box, and that channel opens up, a light comes, and you come to the other side, and you say, I was asleep before, now I'm awake. So die before you die, awaken. But that's not the end. There's a journey, and the journey is now through the barzakh, and you will enter into a dune, and you'll get your first visit. And you go to the dune, and you have the visitation. And then you cross the bridge, the sirat, and then you do this, and then you will travel from here, and then you will travel to there. And we are configured to be bored, so that we always want more. Because Allah shows once, and we are supposed to say, thank you, what's more? What's more? What's more? And so we never stop traveling. When you read that chapter, it's not exhausting. It really is. And then you'll travel here, and then you'll go there, and then you'll go there, and then you'll go there. Oh my God. So there is no end result there. But the end meaning, I need to know that point, and then I need to know the next, and then I need to know the next point. So that's the problem with dimensionality. So that sometimes the language are very helpful for us with dimension. I was trying to, that's that semantic field, that second slide, I think. That with this kind of semantic volume, you can, those words are designed to get you into another dimension. But in the way I've trained to speak and learned to speak in conventional language, my speech is very two-dimensional. Yes.
I think I heard you translate the name Aziz as the inaccessible. Could you comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, so Aziz as inaccessible, and when we have an inaccessible one, and we have the aleph is inaccessible, means that the aleph, nothing can come after the aleph and join to it. So the next letter gets as close as she can to the aleph, but she can't join because the aleph is inaccessible. That I am inaccessible to you. And inaccessible is also fenced in, and so we can't breach the fence, and therefore we can't define. So define is to make a fence around something and say this is what it is and this is what it's not. And so there is no definition of Zat, because the Zat is undefinable and inaccessible and has no fences put around it. And then you have sacred precinct, the idea of the haram, that this is the place that cannot be reached, cannot be gone into. So all of this is inaccessible. And inaccessible in the same way that the lines on that tablet are inaccessible because we can only perceive them if we have a piece of paper on top of them. We take the paper off, there's nothing to be perceived. And so we can only hear the sound if we have an ah behind it, but there is no mouthless, breathless sound. There is only breath sound. So we say, take away the breath and tell me what you got. Show me the frame number 453 without light, without projection. And I'll say, there's nothing there. So inaccessible, because the only way she is accessed is when she manifests, but it doesn't really manifest because there is no crossing over there. And so all we can see is that the rubbings on this piece of paper and the multiple things that are happening here are all because the ayin is one. The source point is one and inaccessible. And so the arif, the one who can recognize the divine everywhere, say, oh, I see this, that makes me know that.
I don't know if you remember last time I had asked you a question about the La ilaha and the letters.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
So I'm wondering if that has something to do with that screen and that the first half has that reflection of one side and the. Does that make sense?
Yes. So this is the Ibn Arabi's grammar is that everything starts out as we can do this vocally or orally or written. Let's do written for now. Every letter is an alif. And the alif changes so that it modifies and modulates and becomes sarif. And so we have the word tasarruf, and in order to sirf, we have all of these words in many languages that come from tasarruf, which means to make a serif. We have sans serif and serif. And so serif are the way letters are changed from Helvetica to something really nice like Alcuin or something like that. So Helvetica has no serif. And it has no elaborations. It's all square and plain. And the elaborations are what we see in this world. We were talking earlier about it. The Hu is like a pilot wave which pulls things into existence. And then as things are flying through this three-dimensional atmosphere and surface, there are eddies that come in after them. Those eddies are the serif letters. So the aleph shapes herself as a jim or a ha or a ha, and then or a da, and so shapes herself in a certain way. At this point, most of us can't see that that's still an aleph. We think it's now another letter, and so multiplicity confuses us. We think that now where did the aleph go? And so, but the aleph hides herself so that we can see this da or this da, and then after that. We now have a skeleton, we have a shape, and that skeleton is still lifeless. It needs to be, it needs to have being. So it is given being through being given movement, and movement in Arabic is harakat, the vowel. So harakat is voweling or vocalizing. So this da is a surd in English and Latin, which when you're surd, that was the old way of saying being mute. So that's a surd kid or something like that. The surd is mute. So consonants used to be called surds because they were mute. cannot articulate N. You have to either go N or you have to go Na, but you can't articulate a sur, a consonant. So every letter needs a harakat that it can go to, and or that harakat can hit a consonant. And now the consonant can be heard because the harakat has hit it. And so this movement of harakat is what makes these letters become alive. And then when they're alive and they multiply, daraba is multiply, when they multiply with each other, they create words. And when they create words, they create something that is unseen, and that's meaning. So meaning is unseen. So I see the letter, I see the three letters, I see their vowels. Until I have the meaning, they're dead and lifeless. When the meaning comes, then they have created in the tip of the iceberg, they've created meaning in the bulk of the iceberg. So they have transferred across the barzakh without going through it. They have transferred from a jim or a dal into meaning. And there's no connection between the meaning and the letter. There's no line that goes from the letter to the meaning. You got the letter, you got the meaning, and you have nothing in between. You are awake, you are asleep, and there's nothing in between. And so this is his imagery and his grammar for how the kaf meets the nun, and when of kun fayakun. So when the kaf meets the nun, the wav is hidden inside the nun, and when the wav is inside the nun, remember the nun is the womb. When the wav is inside the nun, then we have kun fayakun, and it becomes. And when the wav comes out of the womb, it becomes kaun, being. So the wav becomes still. So that organ quits moving and stills, and when it becomes still, after it has created the meaning with the nun, it becomes still and it becomes kaun, existence, entity. And so this is the process of the sexual grammar of how letters do what they do, how vowels work, how plenished letters, so that the kaf and the wav are plenished and full until they have their harakat, after which they become sukun, and both parties become sukun and still. The kaf becomes a consonant still, and the nun becomes still as a consonant, and their stillness lets the wav come out now and anon, because the wav is called a weak letter. So the wav beyond the alif are weak letters. So now the wav has gone weak and weak, and so because it's gone weak, now we can have a sword that says we've gone from kun to kaun.
I want to ask about that slide where you had the iceberg.
Yeah.
Put the iceberg, which is the world that you live in, and then the real iceberg, which is the hakika. And you had said that as you approach, the border, and the minute you touch it, you're in the other side actually. Can you explain again how barzakh fit into this?
Yeah. So barzakh as the sort of technical or the topographical way of talking about it is a null-bounded surface. So the volume of this surface is null. I mean, there's no area. There's a surface with nothing there, and it's bounded, which means it begins here and ends here. But it begins here and ends here with nothing in between. So it is the crease of the page. When you crease the page tight, you open it up. There is a tiny line that separates this page from this page. And the tighter the crease, the less and less volume you're getting, the more null your surface is becoming. So if you can then begin to see this fold, which has no volume, but as something drifts into it, it's there. So where did it go? There was nothing there to cross, but it drifted in there, and then it's there. And so that is the crease of the fabric of our reality, the surface reality we live in. The crease has no volume itself, but when that crease is approached, and when the crease is approached until suddenly we're on the other side, because there's nowhere to go through, because it's a null volume. And so this is the experience of suddenly being in another world. Suddenly seeing things. People say, the veil something suddenly disappears and you see something else, and there's no transition there. And you can't take your conscious mind into that. I'm going to be surprised, and so let's go there, and I'm ready to be surprised, I'm ready to be surprised. Yeah, that's the definition. So you have to get closer and closer until then you're on the other side.
So how does Barzakh fit into this then?
So the Barzakh is that barrier.
Is the crease.
The crease. That one ocean crashes here, one ocean crashes here. They touch because there's no volume in that null in the Barzakh, but they don't pass through because it's a null-bounded surface. So they touch without crossing. They splash together without ever transgressing and moving to the other
And
side.
is there an element of time in Barzakh? Or there's
No,
such
that's
thing
it's,
either?
Barzakh is baka, is everything still is there. Everything that is, will be, and ever was is in the Barzakh. And so that's why when you're in the Barzakh, when you're past the Barzakh and you're in that world, you can see people who are not yet born, long dead, and all that, because and everything that I do here stands in that next world. And so when we say Kat Kamat as-Salah, we're saying Kat Kamat, she has been stood, the Salah. The Salah, she has been stood. And where she has been stood is in that world. So the Salah that I do here disappears as soon as it's done. And it stands there in the other world and stands there in Baka permanently. And so every move you make creates that figure, that angel, that form, that Salah. And she is the one that when you are in the grave visits you and says, because you wake up from this life, and when you wake up from this life, you say that was a dream and this is real. And then when you wake up from that, when you leave the Barzakh area and go on the visit to the journey of the dune and the next place, you say, oh, that was a dream and now I'm awake. And this process.
So then, Shu'ayb, are there multiple Barzakhs?
Well, in the same way as that I am with you wherever you are, that means everywhere you are, there is a Barzakh. That's the multiple. The imagery Ibn Arabi uses is the shofar, or the horn. And the horn meaning the trumpet that's blown, but also the horn of the animal. And so if we were to reduce everything to this two-dimensional diagram, and this surface of this rug is our three-dimensional surface, the Barzakh is a horn that covers like this, and then gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it goes off to the tip. And so everywhere this surface is, the Barzakh is the beginning of the horn ready for you to enter. And then when you enter there, it keeps moving from there. And this, the Ibn Arabi has a way of describing how big this place is. And he says that the ring tossed into the desert. And so this Earth to the solar system is a ring tossed into the desert. The solar system to the greater cosmos is a ring tossed in the desert. And the greater cosmos is the kursi, which is like a ring tossed in the desert of the throne. And the throne is like a ring tossed in the desert of the vast Earth, the Ardalasia. And so through that, my calculations, I get 10 to the 16th. And then I was reading that the string physicist said that the brain area, the B-R-A-N-E area, is 10 to the 16th of what we have here. And therefore, that when gravity over there is as strong as the electromagnetic, all these forces, but when it comes here, it's drained by a factor of 16, and that's why it's a weak force. Gravity is very weak compared to electric force. So I thought this is kind of wild. We're getting 10 to the 16. I think 10 to the 16 might really mean something there, because this is the ratio of the ring tossed into a desert, and so all these things. But also it tells you that I mean, of course, the cosmos is vast, but it also gives you, when you see ratios, you begin to say, well, I can see how it all fits together. So that's nice.
We're more than 2 hours on the clock.
Yeah.
And just to wrap up, perhaps you can speak to the project of the translations and the books that we have out there, just so that people
So what, about 5 years ago, I pretty much dropped everything in it, and I'd gotten the critical edition of the Futuhat from Abdulaziz Sultan Mansur in Sana'a, Yemen. And I asked him, where can I find your critical edition? He sent it to me. He said, where do you live? I'm sending it to you. And so that was my sign. It was time to get going, and so I started the translation from the beginning, and emailing back and forth and sort of asking, you're being bombed by the U.S. and the Saudis, how are you doing? Alhamdulillah. So he would, like, always answers my questions, very generous. For the first 3 times I would say, you've vocalized it this way, but Usman Yahya does it this way, and he would very gently say, this is how this is. And after the 3rd time, I will never question you again. Just I'll ask you the question and you'll tell me what the answer is. And so we've got into that. And so the Futuhat al-Makkiyah is 10,000 pages. It was handwritten, much by Ibn Arabi, and if it wasn't his own hand, it would be the hand of one of his friends. And at the end of every folio of 16 or 32 pages, there would be a signature saying that this is this is Ibn Arabi, and he has looked at this text and he has said this is the way the text is. So we have 3 manuscripts, absolutely authentic, directly from the hand of Ibn Arabi, and even in his calligraphy, he has teachings for us. And so when I saw that the critical that Sidi Mansub sat for 11 years with these manuscripts and came up with a critical edition, then I said it's time for me to get to work. So and it's been 5 years now, and it's about 5,000 pages, so about halfway through. I started the Futuhat is divided into the pieces or the places on the youth that Ibn Arabi saw these things etched in light. So the Futuhat is the head, torso, arms, and legs, so 6 sections. And the first section is Ma'rifah, is what you need to know to recognize God. And those are the first 12 books that I think are about 3,800 pages. And then the second section is on Muamalat, the interactions that take place between creature and creator. And Muamalat in typical Islamic text is like marriage contracts and things like that. For Ibn Arabi, it's every contract and every relationship we have with the Creator. And so the Muamalat is the second section, and that comes in 2 books, these 2 large books that are kind of dark blue called Interactions, so Muamalat Interactions. And then the 3rd section is on the Ahwal, on the changing states. And he says, in the animal world, there is no one more than the chameleon who tells us about the changing states. So if you see the chameleon and learn from the chameleon, you will learn about the changing states, because in iridescence, like the hologram, you move, you get a different, every time the facets change, just by moving. The chameleon is the same, the pearl is the same, but the iridescence changes every time you see a move. So, and of course pearls are iridescent, so that's why the pearl imagery and the chameleon imagery are throughout this 3rd section. That's 828 pages. It's kind of a yellow. My wife says she can't stand the cover, and I must put one of those beautiful Islamic domes on there. I will work with that again. But there it is right now. The inside is there. And there's been a lot of change and development over these years. So much support and encouragement from people all over. And I kind of was preparing myself for like internet trolls and all that, but alhamdulillah, nothing ever. All I get is wonderful support and advice and feedback. And so we're now at 5 years, and the 3rd section, the halfway point, I can't not go forward, but I can go forward slowly and come back and try to put everything together so that at some point, maybe a year or 2, there will be time for Pure Press to take the entire Futuhat, which everyone who ever studied the Futuhat was told it will never be translated. It will never come out. And when I meet those people, it's in the 70s, we used to say, we read the Fusus and we say the Futuhat will never be translated. And now you're doing this. And so, a tremendous excitement. So very soon, all of this has to come together into a 10,000-page massive work. And so, my brother keeps saying 10,000 pages. Couldn't he have condensed it? And he keeps telling us. He says, "I have just condensed this chapter. Tremendous. It is so abridged. I can't help it. And I didn't even talk about this, that, and that." So out there, please. These I see as preprints in the sense what happens in mathematical and scientific circles, that your article is going to go with some into Springer magazine, which is going to charge everyone $500 a journal. And so what they do is preprints. They throw this in an archive board, and it's all free. And so I get to see all these juicy stuff that next year are going to come out in a journal that's going to cost me hundreds of dollars to read. So I said, let's do preprint. I've got to get this out. People, they won't believe that it's being done unless they see something, and they need to see what's happening and then to help me with this. So the preprint is to bring this out so that you take these books, you read this thing, and then you are ready for this entire opus to come out.
I think Fatiha, I can only think Fatiha for Shu'ayb, for Eric, for his family, and for all those connected to the soul heart of Ibn Arabi and connected to this project, and may it uplift humanity and transform our civilization into a true human divine civilization. Through the secret heart of our peers, the lineage of the peers, and the secret heart of the Sheikh al-Akbar, and the lineage of the Prophet and the Prophets, and the mothers of Fatiha. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir